Myles, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here, Michelle.
I have wanted to get you on this podcast for so long. I'm lucky enough to work in a showroom that represents you, that's sales producers in Las Vegas. And I will tell you now, I've been a huge fan of the business for a ton of time because my buying for consulting with retailers goes way back. And a lot of the places that I consulted are pharmacies. And I still remember going to the show with my then what I called my Jewish mother, who owned her and her husband owned San Pedro Pharmacy, going to the show and those damn little light up holiday necklaces.
We still sell it.
Hundreds, if not thousands of those. And
Yeah.
oh, I look at the line and how much it's evolved, and I was like, okay, I need to get you on because obviously your company's been around for a ton of time. So I'm going to stop talking about you and have you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you and your brand.
Okay. Miles Marks, and the company I work with is DM Merchandising, and it's multiple brands, but it's a business that my uncle started about 35 years ago, give or take, and my cousin Gavin has since taken over as my uncle is retired, and I oversee our creative and product and development and import and marketing sides of the business. So I kind of um, drive the product and involved in the creative and really look at it from inception to until it's finally in our warehouse. That's kind of my job, making sure that whether it's even the things like compliance or freight, but really what I enjoy is the creative part of the biz, because that's kind of at the core what we consider ourselves, even though we're by definition like a wholesale distributor. But really, and I think it's what's really stood the test of time. That was the premise and really the business model that my uncle started with was we make our livings from our minds, and then we'll figure out the business side. But let's just create cool shit and get it out there, and we'll figure out how to sell it and ship it and get paid.
How long did you, when did DM merchandising start?
About 35 years ago, so 1980 something or another.
Wow. And your uncle, what was your uncle's background before he started the brand?
So my grandfather had actually started a business,
Wow.
and he was really like a pioneer in the closeout, and that involved in like the late 70s and 80s to being a pioneer in like direct importing when the barrier to importing was very difficult. But they were more involved in just the gamut from barbecue grills to 40-piece socket sets to just all kinds of general merchandise, which at the time that was pre China being the China we know today.
Yeah.
And a lot of the production was happening in Hong Kong and Korea and Japan and Taiwan. But anyhow, so long story short, my uncle worked in that business, um, left in 1980 something to start DM merchandising, and yeah.
Did
So I mean, yeah.
So you're has was the whole family involved in it? Like your grandfather, your uncle? I mean, were other people in your family involved? Because you
Yeah,
still have family
yeah, it
members.
was, yeah. That business that really kind of laid the foundation for David to leave and start DM merchandising. Was my grandfather started in like 1945.
Wow.
Just peddling shoelaces and just he was an old school Jewish hustler
I
to the
love
to
it.
the nth degree. Just that guy, and no real formal education, but just a great salesman, and everybody loved him. And he just built and closeouts as well. I mean, that was before like closeouts were a thing. But I mean, he like literally way back when was calling on Sam Walton when they had like one store in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Oh
So
my God, that's amazing.
yeah. So, but yeah, David left in yeah, the 80s, and just started kind of a different model, which was a little bit more creative focused, and obviously not with closeouts or whatnot, because David, that was always his. He's just a great visionary and just had a great, which is it originally started as a merchandising company, hence DM merchandising, because David had identified way back when kind of a void in the at retail, because back then it was just like brown boxes with maybe a label, but he was one of the first to start really like color packaging and four color, packaging and color boxes and displays and
Wow.
permanent displays and things like that. So that's really why it was DM merchandising, because that was really the vision, is that he was going to offer merchandising to solutions,
Yeah.
because he had identified that as being, kind of a void out there at retail.
Do you guys have a big family? I mean, were you having like family holidays and stuff like that, and everyone's talking about the business? It's all I can picture right now. It's like, or are you all getting the stuff from your grandfather of like, hey, look what I got you? It's like straight off
Yeah,
or close out.
no, for sure. I mean, it was definitely a lot of biz talk, because he had that business before David started DM. Was my grandfather, and he had three sons, and they were all in the business, and um, yeah. So
And
yeah, business was definitely very, very prevalent.
what did you do prior to? Because it looks like from your bio, you've had a lot of different jobs in retail, including seasonal pumpkin patch.
Yeah, I actually moved to Los Angeles right after I graduated in college in 1992. Um, was drawn to the production side of movies and TV and theater and whatnot, which I was kind of started to get involved in college, and then moved to Los Angeles thinking I'd get involved in that, and I did, and was involved in some cool productions and a film that went to Sundance, and kind of was starting to kind of lay some groundwork, or that's a town that you definitely got to. It seems like either hit it like lightning in a bottle quick, or you got to grind out for like
Yeah.
10 years, and maybe you friggin' hit it, if you're lucky. But I met my wife, who was living out there working with an interior designer, and had the blessing or the curse, depending how you look at it, of a family business that was based in Chicago. So I decided I need to actually probably make a real income that was more steady, and moved back to Chicago. And then the seasonal pumpkin patch was something in California that just, when I was out there, needed to make some money. So you peddle some pumpkins. I was doing like PA work or grunt, whatever I could get my hands on in terms of being involved in the entertainment biz. And so that's where the seasonal pumpkin patch was, just
Side hustle.
seasonally selling pumpkins before
It's
I moved back to Chicago.
like everyone in the industry that started, like at least my friends that are in the industry, like they, especially now with the strike, like everyone had these side hustles. Like most of the time they were in restaurants because it worked around your hours. I know that's when I was working in
Yeah.
restaurants. I was somewhat in the industry, but pumpkin patch is the first time I've heard that one.
Yeah, I don't even know how it came about, because obviously this was like 1993, 94, 95, 96, and around the time I lived there. So it was pre-internet and pre the ease of finding a job. And one of my buddies had worked in a Christmas tree lot, and it was just kind of that's what they did before they transitioned to the Christmas trees.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I mean, I'm like a weirdo. I love holidays. Like, and it's weird because I set up so many, everyone's like, you think you hate the holidays. I'm like, I mean, I'm a Christmas baby, but the idea of either working at a pumpkin cat patch or a Christmas tree farm, even though I love the holidays, seems like the biggest nightmare because of the people that shop there. And because like, I mean, it's so hard to be in retail standing your feet all day anyway, let alone standing there like, like five and diming on the pumpkins. We take this, and I
yeah.
was like, no.
Yeah, I mean, probably a little better in so much as early 20s, and I'm sure there was some cocktails involved, so it's not like a traditional retail
Good,
setting. So it's
good,
probably a
good.
little bit more, um, yeah, a little looser of a retail environment.
Prior to you starting with DM, did you spend much time like with your grandfather or with your uncle or anybody in the business
Yeah,
prior to? So did you do like summer jobs and stuff like that there?
100%. I did really two jobs in the summer. I used to caddy, which is probably to this day maybe my favorite summer
I
job
bet.
ever.
I bet.
And then we were just hustlers. So we worked a little bit in the warehouse, but also there was always just like, for lack of a better word, shit. and they didn't know what to do with, like, there's maybe three defective pieces, or they'd get in stuff from China or Hong Kong or wherever it was coming from at the time. And, the packaging was not like it is today. And containers were not like beautifully packed and all that like they are today. So there was always just stuff. So anyhow, we would pull up a van on like Thursdays, load it up, whatever they would give us. And we'd go work the flea markets, actually, some of the local flea markets, like peddling, but it could be sunglasses. It could be like awful 8-track stuff back then, and speakers. And, so it was always just, and we'd set up little booths, and you had to get there like at 5 in the morning to get in line to, set up your tables. And we'd work the flea markets on like Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Oh my, okay, I take it back. That beats the pumpkin patch hell.
That was great though. It was truly just kind of a great. You interacted with so many different people, and it was just kind of a fun thing that me and a couple buddies, and I think I used to do it with my older brother at times, and my younger brother as well, and my cousin Gavin used to do it. Um,
So you all literally have grown up in and around the product.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's but kind of the funny thing is, I think all of us, and even though today it's just Gavin and I really kind of that are well, that's not entirely true. My younger brother is still in the consumer goods merchant business, but he's on more of a bigger. He works for a company that really deals with closeouts and liquidations, like when Tuesday Morning or Bed Bath and
Yep.
Beyond or company like that, his company comes in and handles the liquidations. Um, so he's still in the business from that side of it.
Sounds very much
Um,
like your grandfather's spirit is still very much around what you all do.
oh, 100%, 100%.
So tell me a little bit about you. Meet your wife. You guys obviously get married. Isn't she's working with you correctly as well in the company? Or
No,
she
she
just
does
comes
not.
out with you? No,
She
that's the designer that was traveling with you.
correct.
Okay, sorry, I'm getting the two mixed up. For some reason, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, no.
if she's still left.
No, yeah, my wife, we do not work together, and that's I know you and your husband work well together, but I don't know if we would work well together. But yeah, she moved out here and got worked for a long time, but so we moved out here and yeah, went to work.
With DM now that you are within the business, and were you always involved in the creative end of it, or did you start at a different
Yes.
part of it, so you walked into the creative part?
At DM, I came back to Chicago working for the company that my grandfather had started. And started in sales. And actually we all started in the warehouse, but then we started in sales, and then we traveled to different shows and whatnot. It became pretty apparent that the creative side of it was more kind of what I wanted to be, and sales was just not. I just didn't have that desire and talent, quite frankly. I mean, as you know, I mean, there's a true talent, and there's some incredible salespeople out there, and it's a talent,
Yeah.
and that just was not one of my strengths.
When you came, tell me, so you've been a DM. When did you come on board to DM?
About 18 years ago, almost
Okay.
19 years.
So that's around the same time that I was buying it with San Pedro Pharmacy. And I will say that the change of the product and how different it feels, you still have that on the line, but the line in itself has grown and feels so much more high end, but it doesn't have the prices of high end. And I think that's why I love it so much. It's one of those things I still with clients, I still bring them there. It's still some of my favorite products because honestly, like you guys are so on the mark on product and the packaging. I mean, the lemon line, it's like the packaging is so good. And
Yeah,
I love it for retailers because, and I talk about this all the time. It's like you sell something and it's like $2 or $3, and the markup, the profit margin for retailers is so incredible. And so many times you have that profit margin, but the packaging is so shitty. Like you don't, but your
right.
packaging is also good. So when did it go from the light up Halloween necklaces to where it is now? Kind of tell me a little bit the evolution of that.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. It's just kind of been an evolution. We've always been nimble, and very mindful of what's happening and what's kind of current and trends um, and also, because in those days, call it, 20 years ago, DM, that's when the dollar stores were booming and that dollar price point. So I mean, our we would sell at that point probably 70% of our customers, 60% of our customers was largely in that dollar, $2, $3 price point. Um, but it was always an arena and a space that we collectively felt wasn't going to be, long term sustainable, and was always kind of the goal to figure out how to start to transition, because it's not easy to start raising prices, to start trying other, completely different categories. And so it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of just yeah, just being, again, super out there, and recognizing that we weren't necessarily the trendsetter, but certainly very aware of the trends. And then once we were like 100% that trends were actually existed, then we would kind of make a commitment to try certain categories and certain items and certain price points. But just years and years of trial and error of categories, price points, and different items, and different, and even packagings and merchandisings. Trying different. Is it color boxes? Is it window boxes? Is it peggable? Is it, do we put it do we want big displays? Do we want small displays? Do we want 12 piece, 24 piece, 36 piece? I mean, we played with so many, variations of literally everything that you could possibly experiment with. And some were financial wins and some were tremendous financial losses. But it was more about kind of just that evolution of learning and knowing that the goal was to try and really elevate the brand, which was at the time DM Merchandising, which kind of now even, we rebranded about 7 years ago in terms of like logo and stuff like that, to just DM. Um, and that's kind of indicative of just kind of us in general, meaning, that we've just kind of been continuously nimble and continuously evolving, and still experimenting, still trying, because that's the fun, quite frankly.
I mean, that's like a
It's
dream job, to be honest. Like
yeah,
when you started what was the first things you introduced that were outside of what you guys were usually doing, and how much of a price jump was it? Because I can already picture,
yeah,
we've talked at the
well,
show about the Halloween stuff and everything still being out, even during the
yeah,
market where it's not what everyone's looking for at that moment, and the resistance that may be of like, we need to see it, we need, we still want to show
right,
people it. And like I can imagine the resistance of when you start to show, from dollar
oh,
necklaces to this is $5. I mean, that's, even though it's small amount, it's big when you talk
yeah,
about, people's markups. What was the first
huge.
rolled out?
Yeah, so really, I'd say what really turned the business for us was, we had, I don't know if you remember the Italian charm bracelets, pre-Pandora. I mean, like the original
Yeah,
slider ones,
yeah.
probably about 20 years ago, 19 years ago, whatever. So our presence in the gift industry was always in the novelty sense, like the flashing necklaces, whatnot. So we didn't have that wide gift base. Our base was very much in the deep discount and the dollar and those kinds. So to your point, exactly, it was super difficult. We came out with something that, instead of retailing for $1.99, we're like, and this is going to be a $4.99 suggested retail. People were like, what? That's crazy. So the Italian charm bracelet trend was taken off like crazy, like 20, whatever it was, 21 years ago. And we were like the first to kind of bring it to the masses at a price point that was super palatable and super friendly, and like the $2.99, $3.99 for each charm, instead of the crazy prices that were out there. And that was to really kind of start to build our broaden our customer base, especially in the gift arena.
Yeah.
So really that item I would say is what kind of put us on the map and really started to help us lay that infrastructure to kind of grow our customer base, and broaden our price points.
So you had mentioned the, it opened up because you were selling to dollar stores and less. So obviously your reps are used to selling to those stores. Like what was the challenge of having your reps that are used to dealing with dollar stores and now expecting them to have feet in the doors of
Yeah.
established gift stores? Like how
Yeah.
that transition?
It basically became a whole different group of reps. And what was interesting was there wasn't much crossover, meaning the accounts that called the deep discount reps were selling really didn't cross over with the Hallmark stores and the gift shops and call it, back then, 20 years ago, it was much more traditional. That was pre-Target selling beautiful gift, or, you couldn't go, you had to go to your local gift shop if you wanted like a ceramic rooster or like a something statue or anything really, candles, and you name it. So the rep groups were very different, and again, that's what kind of really enabled us to kind of get in with the gift reps and start to build kind of the foundation for start to grow the line. I mean, above and beyond what we were already doing.
One of my favorites, still, I just saw it on the line last week, I think, is that they're the little gift boxes that look like a little crown and a little whatever, and then you open up and it's like the
Oh,
sweet little necklace, like, and they're like very like kids, but it was like the perfect
yeah.
pharmacy gift. And I don't you still have those in the line?
We do, and that I mean that was at one point because it's interesting. We because of the Italian charm bracelet, really where we are above, call it dollar store type line, really started to grow was in jewelry and imitation jewelry. So and kids jewelry was a phenomenal category for us. Actually, I was my cousin cited the stat that Gavin said, like 17, 18 years ago, behind like clearers, we were like one of the biggest importers of children's jewelry, like
Wow.
17, 18 years ago. Yeah.
And then what point did you start really dipping your toe? Well, I have a question. I have to go back because you had said you had some great wins and then you had some large losses. What do you do? Like, what is a large loss? Not dollar wise, but what is the item and quantity wise? And what does that automatically go to the discount people? Like,
Well, that happened to be kind of, a huge asset to the growth of the business was because we started literally on the ground floor and worked our way up, progressively to higher price point floors, call it. I'm not saying better or worse, just higher price point.
yeah,
Um, we had tremendous tentacles to the deep discount and the closeout, and a world that a lot of higher price point type wholesale companies
yeah,
don't know how to move in
yeah.
obsolete inventory or tough inventory. So for us, that was like always like the easy part because we
Oh, that's
had
great.
that customer base. So it's kind of just a nice ancillary, not wasn't designed that way, but it just turned out to be a phenomenal pipeline that so we never really had inventory issues.
Oh
So
my
our
God, that's
losses
phenomenal. I didn't
still,
think about that.
yeah, even if we could break even, it was a win, just the cash flow and move on to the next program.
So smart. So when did you, because I've said this, being a retail consultant and a lot of my clients are pharmacies, and I started bringing in clothing to, even back then, to San Pedro Pharmacy, and they were like cash and carry price points, like inexpensive, like what, it had to be one of those things where it was instant gratification, and it wasn't going to be where the wife is going to be hiding in her car. Like it was like easy, no brainer, no fitting room. Like if it didn't work, then she can give it to her girlfriend. And now I've really watched all of the gift lines, Mud Pie, Demdaco, like everybody's got apparel on it. And it's nice to see you
Yeah,
dipping your toes. And you guys will, I will say this, are very smart in the sense of you offer it, but it is, you didn't like, Mud Pie went in. I mean, it's like dresses, this, that, and it's like, holy moly, like coming out of a gift.
yeah,
I know it sells, but it's really great to see you guys roll it out, but it's very it's a controlled little capsule. It's not like here's fall 19, like 2024 and it's
Right.
pieces or whatever. When did that, how far along the juncture was that introduced and what was the reaction?
Yeah, and you're 100% spot on, and I actually appreciate you kind of like recognizing that because we really don't consider ourselves an apparel company in any we're really just an impulse emotion company. So we don't want to get deep into any, one category, and we're very skew mindful and always trying to kind of put together very compact programs and very simplified for the retailer, because everything we do really at the end of the day, and that's been one of the kind of the keys to our growth and our success, is everything we do is we're mindful of the retailer. We're truly trying to make the retailer successful. We're truly, because we recognize, because if it works for them, and I know it's cliche, but it's kind of like if it works for you, it's going to work for us, and it's kind of like a win-win. But that's how we do everything. So in terms of that kind of perspective, I really credit my cousin Gavin was great with kind of bringing that kind of older or young mentality along with myself, and I think the two of us, along with my uncle, kind of just identified that kind of making it easy and kind of minimizing the SKU count, and kind of you can write one SKU versus 73 SKUs. So I need two smalls and one medium and three larges and four extra. Give me pink and give me purple, and you spend an hour and a half, literally writing 23 line items, but it's all the different sizes and this and that. We kind of just really try to simplify it, but it does take significant, investment, because to support that, obviously as a wholesaler, you're committing to inventory and deep enough to be able to support people, the people that are buying it. But yeah, we kind of identified or took we saw what was happening, and this was pre-Dumb Deco and whatnot, but just in general, with apparel or almost everything, that we just really try and simplify it and be mindful of the SKU count and whatnot.
I I have to wonder because I've always said it, I said it at the show, is that when you introduce new stuff, something has to give. Either it's not shown or it's like, so
I know.
when you introduce something like that, both financially as well as a SKU count, like do, I'm assuming you all sit in a meeting and you say, this is what we're rolling out. At that point is when you're like, this is what's leaving, or is it when you guys decide to take things out altogether? Is that a big decision amongst everybody, or is it like, nope,
Yeah,
this is out, we're done?
it's a great question because we that's probably our biggest what we wrestle with, because a lot of sales is still married to X, Y, and Z. Call it, let's just say lounge pants. But we want to move on to the new. But there's 23 customers that are committed to programs, and so there's the element of continuity. But we want to get on to the new. But I know you used the word. I think the first time I met you, and it's always resonated with me, even though I've always used it, but I never vocalized it as the word editing.
Mhm.
And so that's really, you have to have that discipline of, because there are so many interests that can support, whether it's the analytics, whether it's the data, whether it's reports, that would suggest to keep running it, but at some point you have to edit so
Yeah.
you can keep the line fresh, so you can bring in new. So it's exactly as you said, we sit around and we look at the numbers, but that's also where I think the element, that obviously I think I have, and probably from my grandfather, and my cousin certainly has, and my uncle certainly had, but there's an element of gut involved that you have
Yeah.
to you look at the numbers and you make as an educated decision as possible. But at the end of the day, what I've also learned, and I think we've learned as a company, is numbers are awesome, data is awesome, analytics is awesome, especially today with all the reporting that's available to us. But at the end of the day, our business is built on gut,
Yeah.
and it still continues to be that, and just following the gut, and not saying be reckless, and not saying not being super mindful, because again, we are incredibly sophisticated with our reporting and analytics and data and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's we look at each other and it's like, do we do this? Do we not do this? And we kind of do some good cop, bad cop, and go back and forth and follow our gut, our collective guts. And we have a great team, like Lauren, who I think is you're referring to, who you
Yeah.
met, who heads up our development. She's awesome. Our whole development team, Ashley, Helen, and down the line, our art director. I mean, we're really a collaborative group. But at the end of the day, it's a combination of just analytics and gut.
I mean, I think also, obviously it costs to run bulk production. So it's like, okay, like something's going to give. I mean, not to mention space wise, because we talked about this, the show as well, is that, I love Peking. I was with them for 18 years. They took over their father's business as well. That started with like doilies. And literally when I came on with them 18 years ago, they were still showing the doilies, and they're still, and the line, both the Cindy and Derek, the brother and sister, really took the line, and really they started going after designers, and they had, license, and but those damn doilies still stayed on and were still expected to show. And I finally was like, look, the old stuff is literally choking out the new stuff. Like you can't even see the new stuff, because I mean, I can pull it out and do a side display and show some of it, but truly, like when you're talking about 400 new introductions and there's like 25 that are being deleted, it's like, okay, something's going to give. Like there's just no room. And it's like, but there's always that philosophy of like, people are still buying it, and I'm like, and they will, but it's like, you're also not allowing them to make a decision to buy something else and something new, because buyers,
Right.
retailers are smart. But I mean, I know there's a lot of, and it seems like they're the older school retailers that are really stuck in like, we've always done it like this, we'll always sell it. And it's like, there's not a lot of risks they take. But it's,
Yeah.
if you're going to grow a company or a brand, there's a certain amount of risk and gut, and just going, we're going to do it, because I
Right.
can't, with what you guys are doing right now, I can't imagine a lot of fails, because like everything that I keep seeing you guys kick out is so good, including the
Right.
glasses I'm wearing, which I will
Yeah.
tell you right now, I wear these, I'll do stories, and I get so many DMs. When did you guys
Yeah.
start doing the eyewear, as you said, and took it out of the Foster Grant vibe and made it
Well,
more?
it actually started in that vibe because that was just really what was out there, 12, 13 years ago, whatever it was that we got into, or 10 years ago when we got into reading glasses. Um, and it was probably about 5 years ago that yeah, I saw a company that was a little more elevated, and we never like to say that we copy, but we certainly draw inspiration from other
100%.
creatives, as I think the general creative world, whether it's movies or art or
Everybody,
I remember I took a screenwriting class a lot of years ago, and I remember the professor saying, and I think it was accurate, but maybe not. But there's like literally five original ideas in the history of like original stories, and everything else is just a derivative of one of those ideas, in maybe 20 different ways, but at the core, it's really just a derivative of one of these five original stories. So I mean, I think the same holds true with almost everything, there's but that's kind of the cool thing about what we do, is that because we do pride ourselves as a creative house, is um, we're out there and we see, excuse my language, we see shit we like, and we're like, hey, this might work. And then we start to do some due diligence, and then we kind of really do some market research, and then we do some demographic, we just kind of really do a lot of research as best we can. And then we're like, let's fucking do this. This is a category for us. And if we're going to go in this direction, let's go in this direction, because everybody else is, and we've actually tried the call it the very Walgreens, pharmacy readers or whatnot. And there's other companies in our space doing it really well in the gift industry. But so yeah, we identified probably about 5, 6 years ago. Let's just kind of be a little bit, because it's not just 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds and 60+ year olds wearing reading glasses. There's people
uh,
like you and I that are, these are ours as well, that
My
are wearing
voice have
readers.
18
So
years. I
yeah.
I have to say I love that you just dropped the F-bomb. It makes me so
Yeah, no,
happy.
I sorry. It's
No,
I've been restraining myself
hey,
this whole
listen
time,
to
so
the name of the
I
podcast.
can't help it. It's our yeah, no, but that's so yeah, it's but that's how kind of like we do with readers. I think we do with everything. We kind of because we also do recognize that a big chunk of our customer base is very just kind of generic, for lack of a better word. So we can't step out too far. But that's kind of always our challenge: is how far can we toe the line? How far can we push the envelope? Even like right now, I'm sure you see there's so many incredible companies in the gift industry that are really being irreverent and fun and with their copy and but for us it's always that challenge of, like you said, using the F bomb. Can we use the F bomb on our socks or this or that?
Well, I'd say F-bomb sell.
Yeah,
I
they do, but we get complaints from the Hallmark store in
Yeah.
Kansas. It's so we have to be super mindful, and we do sell a decent amount of big box. So if you're going to sell some of the big box that we sell, you walk in, lay your stuff down on a buyer's table, and it's got F bombs and this and that. Probably not going to get that PO. So
Well, I mean, I will say that, I mean, oddly, it is one of those things that, sells everywhere. And it's like, it's not saying you have to do it, but it is oddly retailable. I
oh,
mean, I got in trouble personally at the pharmacy because I just really went down the rabbit hole and I I really went there. I'm gonna say
I mean, yeah, I mean,
I was
I on a
coming.
personal level love it. I mean, I think it's awesome. But yeah, for us, we that's, but it's, I mean, some of our creative meetings are so fun because it's literally just like this, freestyling, throwing ideas out there, whether it be names, whether it be copy, whatever. And it's just like I said, we should really keep a list one day of some of these names we don't use because there's some phenomenal content here and
Yes.
some unbelievable names, but they're just a little bit too edgy for us. But
But I
so
love
yeah,
that
we're
you guys like I mean, because I always say they're like in showroom land and in lines, there's the super uber hip lines that, as the pharmacy, they're too expensive. And it's like, I want to carry them, but it's, dollar wise, there's no way it's going to sell. And then there's, the midline lines that, have, which is what I see you guys as like this, even though you have a lower price point, your product, you can put it right next to higher end products and it retails. And that's why I said the beautiful part is as a
yeah,
retailer, is that your profit margin as a retailer is so phenomenal because the styling of the product, the styling of the packaging, like it holds its own for a medium lower price product. Like your packaging is what, and the product does. I mean, the product's
right.
beautiful, these glasses, like the weight on them. But I have to go back to the glasses one time because I will say that your fixturing for the glasses, you know, for those who buy, and I'm talking to all of our listeners, if you buy readers, I will tell you that I'm the first person to throw fixtures away because they're cheap and
Yeah,
crappy 9 times out of 10, and they don't give the brand elevation. Your eyeglass fixture gives such elevation on the glasses, like just the whole thing of the boxes already being there on the side. And it's like you have one pair of samples that somebody tries on. It's not like someone sticking their fingers over all 18 pairs. You have the one style, you pull out the box, you have the box, you have your little cleanser. Like it's so well done. I mean, the fixture, like I would have that fixture in any of my retailers because it looks high end. And it's that is seriously like one of the things that irks me beyond is that you buy things and it's like the packaging's crappy. Don't send us the fixture. Oh, well, it's part of the buy. It's like, don't, we're just gonna throw,
right.
don't send it. But yours, for all the retailers listening, like that is your packaging is phenomenal. And that is as assuming is you.
I mean, us collectively, not just me. Again, our team. But that was also a lot of trial and error. We had a couple displays that were huge fails in the optical arena. That like six-figure fails when all was said and done. That we learned a lot. Um, But with displays in general, hence, again, the DM merchandising, the whole kind of premise of the company, or what one of the principles it was built upon. Um, we look at it as like real estate, so when we put something, or when one of our customers or partners buys into it, um, we want to give them really good real estate. We want to give them something that isn't going to be just thrown in the trash in 6 months, and um, it's gonna they can be proud to put it in their stores. It's super functional, but it also encompasses, most importantly, we're very mindful of, sales per square foot and all that kind of stuff. So, we're really trying to drop something in the retailer store that's not just, hey, we made a great sale. Like for us, we don't start really, I don't want to say celebrating, but really acknowledging that an item's a good item until we start to get reorders, because it's easy to make the initial sale. So it's so many of our displays, like the readers, for us, the fact that it's evolved into this annuity program, and a lot of retailers that we're helping and it's supporting. And it's a testament to the fact that the display does work, that so many retailers have been running it for 2 years, 3 years, whatever. Um, it's just because we again want to give them something that looks great, isn't going to fall apart, gives them a lot of sales per square foot, and again, they can be proud to have in their stores because it's not just like this clunky,
It's
horrific
really good.
looking, display. So
Really, I'm like the asshole that like looks at packaging on everything and like is super judgy. I hate to say that.
Oh, please. My wife will not go to like a retail store because I am a retail whore. I mean, I spend way too much time, or it's what I love, but I spend, just in every store possible, and I travel to China as part of my job, and India and places like that. I love it, but I spend my time there. I'm not out clubbing or going to touristy stuff. I love to hit the local stuff because, I mean, there's just, you never know, you're going to find some little inspiration or some little creative nuance that could be used for a packaging or a display, or some kind of signage or something. So no, I get it. I'm nuts like that.
Do you, what was I just gonna ask you? What are some of your favorite products that you guys have released over the last, I don't know, year or so?
Well, you mentioned lemon lavender. That's a line we came out with about maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but started as one thing. And then the other thing that we've really tried to put a focus on, and lemon lavender is a good example of that, is packaging, yes, displays, yes, but also voice of the product, and then trying to connect the voice to the consumer. Because I think today's consumer, because so much, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not, unfortunately, for better or for worse, we're not curing cancer. We're selling impulse, we're selling romance, and we're selling shit that nobody needs, quite frankly. Could you make the argument it makes their life better in that moment, or as a gift, it made somebody happy and it brings great joy in that capacity? Sure. But in terms of like actual necessity, we're not selling like stuff that anybody needs. So what we're selling is impulse, is romance, so lemon lavender, we started out a little bit more sterile, and started to apply a different look and a little bit more of a whimsical kind of fun voice to it. And it seemed to really start to take off once we did that, and it started to resonate more with the consumer. But I'd say lemon lavender is one. Um, I mean, right now we have probably about 14 different brands that we kind of have become kind of mainstays for us. But I'd say, yeah, Lemon Lavender is a super fun brand. Soul Stacks is our jewelry line. That's Kedzie is another great brand. So yeah, it's and Kedzie's, like the name of a street in Chicago. And there's another good example of a brand that Lauren, who is our head of product development, who really is the kind of the force behind Kedzie, does a great job with being super mindful of what's out there. But we learned, like, we got into some Sherpa kind of product because it was so trendy and it was cool and we loved it. But I don't know if mass market was ready for it. So it's we kind of learned with Kedzie what's working, what's not working, and Lauren does an incredible job of keeping Kedzie kind of current, mindful of trends, mindful of colors, and Kedzie's been a great brand for us.
You had said you when you guys are rolling something out, you guys test out demographics and what like that. How does that work? Like, say you're rolling out lemon lavender, like what does it look like demographic? How do you test that?
Good question. We get it out there into to a lot of different people. Whether it's because we deal with a lot of different rep groups, we have a pretty significant rep network that we can tap into. Over the years, we've established some really good, call it family customers that we have phenomenal relationships. They're almost like a focus group for us. Obviously, just collectively within the company and just families and things like that. But we just kind of get it out there as best we can and kind of get a feel for what the feedback is, and then kind of reconvene, if you will, and then kind of assess whether or not we're going to go in this direction, that direction, or what have you. But sometimes it's the only way around it is literally commit to inventory, bring it in, start selling it, and then until you get that real wide feedback. It's almost impossible to know, because I mean you can do as much diligence as possible, meaning call it with that network that kind of just laid out. But until you get it out there and it's selling in Kansas, it's selling in California, it's selling in Florida, it's selling in New Hampshire, it's selling in Texas, until you start to get kind of more of a true real widespread feedback, it's almost impossible to know. And that's why I say, for us, we don't really start to acknowledge that a program or anything, an item is good until we start to see those reorders.
Is there anything that came out and you guys were like, oh my God, this is like the next best thing, and then it just bombed?
There's been a few probably within, just like I mentioned, like the Sherpa for Kedzie. Just a lot of just items.
Yeah.
Not like fortunately, any category or any brand. Because one of the things we've tried to create at DM, and I hope we've been successful at it. Even now that I've gotten involved, and that's how I met you at the shows. Um, where you can like walk into a retailer, see like 7 of our brands, and not know it's coming from the same place. So I mean,
Yeah.
we've really tried to kind of create different looks and different experiences with each brand, as opposed to just being very generic throughout.
I mean, you guys have done such a great job. I mean, I have to say, I God damn it, I already forgot what the fuck I was gonna say to you. This is what happens when you get to this age. You're like all of a sudden like
I
mid
get it.
like
I think we're like the same age, right? I mean, I'm 53. You don't have to
it's all
respond to
right.
that,
Everyone
but
knows I turned 58 in
I know
December.
you're much younger than me, but
Yeah, I wish. 53 was a good age, but that was a while back. I I was at the awards in Dallas when your company won. Is it the vendor award of the year? Or is it what?
yeah, vendor of the year.
It was so great. I loved hearing your cousin's speech. It was hilarious to be in the audience and then also be watching everyone on stage, including Richard's face was like, as it went on. But it was such a great speech. And it's like you knew it was from the heart, and it gave you such a great
Yeah,
insight to the family business and like the real passion that is behind your brand.
yeah. No, obviously I love my cousin, personally and professionally, but he, you hear stories about succession and family businesses or whatnot, but that he has taken the torch and ran with it in a way that it's pretty neat to see, quite frankly, because my uncle is a big. I mean, he is a visionary. He really is an incredible person, a great businessman, incredibly savvy, incredibly creative. So I'm in pretty big shoes to fill. But yeah, my cousin is he's he's um he's pretty spectacular in his own way. So it's kind of neat and to be a part of kind of both generations, and to also feel like I can very much still contribute. And it's exciting to kind of come to work every day to be a part of kind of what's next. And that's what's kind of neat about DM is that we're not just resting on our laurels. We're not just thinking about the old. It's like we're constantly trying to innovate, recreate, and see what we can do next, and which makes it fun, and again makes it exciting. It's not just coming in and looking at spreadsheets, and um,
Well, it's a fun
it's
company.
super.
I mean, it feels fun. So obviously it
Yeah,
works well. It's obviously fun actually working there. Do you in I remember what I was gonna say now. Social media wise, do you because obviously TikTok has become such a massive thing, Instagram is
yeah,
a ton of business. Do you work with influencers ever? Like how are you doing the TikTok thing?
yeah.
Are you what does that look like for
Yes. So yes, we are. We brought on a marketing director. I think it was just about exactly a year ago because we're kind of somewhat unique, I think, based on just the people I talked to and whatnot, that we're still pretty well rooted in brick and mortar, and it's really been in the past probably about 3 years, 4 years that we've really been accelerating and developing and giving a good energy and focus to our e-com initiatives. So with that, we started to really embrace marketing, which we never really did formally. I mean, we did, previously, but more in an organic way. But we brought aboard a marketing director with the task of um, building out a team. So with that, obviously, is TikTok and just our social platforms in general. But we kind of have a bunch of different. So we have DM as a brand, and then a lot of our individual brands, whether it's Kedzie, FitKicks, Hello Mellow, they have their own e-com
wow.
presences and their own social. So
Wow, that's a
it's
lot
still
of
it's still
marketing.
it is. So that's why again we brought in Anna, who's been fantastic to kind of really understand our business, and now being tasked with building out a true marketing team that's going to start to put more energy into obviously the likes of TikTok. And even though we keep a cadence or whatnot with our social today, that we're really looking to in 2024 start to get to a much more kind of accelerated and aggressive social marketing strategies that includes influencers and the like.
Very smart. Because I think a lot of the older companies that have been around forever, I mean, part of what happened, I say what happened during the pandemic are for retailers. A lot of the retailers that were like, we've always done it like this. I'm not getting on social media. I'm not comfortable. We sell only like this. Didn't have a e-com setup. The pandemic had a very swift way of getting rid of all of them. And the new retailers that are coming in, this young generation that goes live from Magic, I talk about all the time. Like I'm blown away.
Yeah,
I watch the girls at Magic and they're have something in their thing. They've already decided retail price on it. What do you think? And they're literally taking live pre-orders and turn around and say, I'll take 10 packs. I mean, it's a whole nother way of how
right.
how wholesale and retail is done now, but there are still some, like if you look at, I'm not even gonna say names, but if you look at some of the bigger older gift brands, their presence is zero. And it's like I have to wonder what that's going to look like in the world of, I mean, TikTok has its own selling platform now. There's influencers that are actually, it's all they do is they're paid to sell on a paid, and it's the companies that aren't getting behind it and getting a presence going, it's scary. So it's like
Yeah,
I love hearing not only do you guys have a presence, but the fact that each one of the brands has their own social media presence, which I think is brilliant because each of them does have a totally different personality from one
right.
to the other.
Yeah, 100%. And we're also very pretty steadfast with the kind of the principle that knowledge is power, for lack of a better phraseology. But so we really want to, before we just start hiring people and building out this crazy social teams and whatnot, we want to learn it and really understand it. And I think we're like year two into kind of our knowledge phase, call it, and we're ready to kind of start to deploying resources and money, more money than and to kind of now to build it. But but from having understood it, because again, we deal with so many different types of customers, and there's also upsetting the apple cart of we don't want customers to think we're competing with them. So we didn't want to just start to get into the B2C space and upset our B2B business. So we really wanted to kind of take a deep breath and not just get crazy like we got to have a gazillion posts and just
Yeah,
so
that's smart.
we kind of really fortunately for us the revenue is still the primary, call it the mothership, is our B2B business. So it's more um, recognizing this is the future and now trying to figure out what that balance is and how we can serve both, but not, compete with our B2B customers. So we use a lot of what's called MAP pricing, which is, minimum advertised pricing, and kind of learned that whole world. We learned how to navigate Amazon. We got rid of a lot of resellers, which, hurt our wholesale business a little bit, but it's strengthened the fact that now we can own those pages and we can own our listings and we can own our Amazon pricing, because before it was just like a race to the bottom, so to speak, of just the wild west of pricing. So we walked away from a lot of resale business so we could kind of take ownership of that ourselves, and even that took a lot of time to kind of weed out people that were still selling product that we were previously selling. So we've kind of taken ownership of that, and then launching our own e-com sites, but again, controlling all the aesthetic, controlling the pricing, and again, most importantly, being mindful of we are not a competitor. If anything, we're to be on the direct to consumer sites, maybe priced a little bit higher. So because the first thing, whether it's a retail buyer or an actual end user consumer, in this day and age, they go right on Amazon. Can they buy it cheaper? They go, they scan the QR code, they scan whatever, and they can see 6 stores around them or online that are selling it, and you can literally buy something in like 7 seconds today. So we're super mindful of protecting our retailers, and so what we've tried to do in the past, 2 years is kind of really rein that in and get control of it. So now we can go out and kind of launch intelligently our different
I
social
love that
platforms and whatnot.
I love that you just said that, because one of the interviews I had, the store was saying that she buys wholesale. She's an apparel store. She buys wholesale from whatever line. And she said, so you have this on your website and it's like, it's only, it's not even a full 2.0. And they're like, well, yeah. And she's like, but we can't sell for anything less than 2.5 because of shipping and overhead and whatnot.
Sure.
And she was like, those are the lines that we're dropping now because they are not protecting us, because we know that people go into the store and, oh, I love this, and look up and it's like,
Right.
oh, either sit there in the store and go, well, look, they're selling it for this much. So I love that you're protecting the retailers in that sense, because that has come up a lot. And now I've mentioned it that I, I forget what line it is, that at Christmas time they do gift packs and they put MSRP sticker on it that's impossible to take off, and it's only a
Yeah.
2.0 markup. And it's like, are they paying for our shipping? Like, Keystone doesn't exist anymore. Like, it just doesn't, not especially not with freight prices as they are. And I think that what you just said was great to hear, because that is definitely not the norm in the industry. So it's nice to hear that, which makes me love you guys even more.
Well, I mean, but again, we have the advantage, or had the advantage, or have the advantage, however you want to look at it. But of the wholesale, the B2B business is still our bread and butter. So that's who we're certainly not going to just abandon and go all in on e-com and start trying to compete with them. So it's still, again, figuring out that balance.
What last few questions, because I've had you for a
Yeah.
minute.
No, I'm good. I got nowhere to be.
What are you excited about that's you guys are coming out with in 2024 for this, I guess they're winter shows, even though it's January?
Yeah. We have a couple lines. We're one line that we're launching that is kind of a rebrand of an existing line that we've just done again, a lot of trial and error. We've done a ton of, they're listening to a ton of feedback, and kind of have rebranded this line into what you'll see is going to be a new line that's a little bit hipper, cooler, more current, and more kind of in line with our current kind of product look and trajectory. That's I think going to be a super fun impulse based but brand. Um, and then we have a line which is actually super cool. Not a line, an item. So the local high school has like an entrepreneurship program. So these four students came up with this item, and a friend of my cousin's had him come in just to speak as an entrepreneur, whatever. And he sent me an email, and it's like, this is actually a pretty cool item. What do you think of this? And we're both like, this is actually pretty cool. I think we could actually maybe take this to market. So, and they actually went to Austin and like South by Southwest, like high school entrepreneur contest, and actually won
How
down there.
cool.
So we struck a deal with them where they're going to make a royalty, but otherwise this item would have just been a class project. But we've spent a significant amount of money opening up the molding and whatnot.
Oh my God, that's so
But
exciting. I love it.
yeah, we're filing for utility and design patents, and we're going to be launching that item in January. So that'll be kind of cool, just the fact that it spawned from these students, and
Oh
um,
my God, that's
you know,
brilliant. I love that. That makes me so happy. It's just, I mean, like just leaning into that next generation, and the fact that it was so good that it's actually going to become a product. That's amazing. I can't wait to see
I
what
mean, we'll see if it sells. I mean, that's
you're taking
obviously,
a
uh,
chance. I love that.
yeah. And then we actually just had it because they were all home for the summer. They're all like, I could think I'd be sophomores in college now. We met them when they were seniors in high school. It's taken that long because the molding has been pretty. It's been a lengthy process because there's a lot of functionality, but I think we've nailed it. And so we just had them into the office. We did like a little photo shoot and all that, and we'll be launching a whole social
Oh,
platform.
love it.
And
That's
it's
so
going to
great.
be kind of the, like, we just gave away a cruise at this last summer shows. Actually, we did the drawing today live at our company picnic. Um, so we're going to be doing kind of a big giveaway and whatnot, kind of tied in with the launch of this brand and at the January
Oh my
Q1
God,
too.
that's so
Yes.
exciting. I can't wait to see it. Okay, you
Yeah.
touched on your travel and how you find inspiration in stores. So tell me a little bit more about where you find inspiration.
That's kind of the cool thing about inspiration. There's not like one set place that you just say, I'm going to go here and find inspiration. I mean, there's places I love to go that maybe, can be peace of mind, whether it's the mountains or the water or whatever. But in terms of like true inspiration for product, it could be anywhere. In terms of retail, it's from, the Targets of the world to boutiques to car washes that sell stuff while you're waiting. I mean, it just, you never know. That's why I say, like, my wife doesn't like to go anywhere with me because I'm like, yeah, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'm just going in here real quick. I'm just going.
It's like the
So I mean,
reverse.
you just don't know where. I mean, honestly. And I love to touch and feel, as I think everybody on my team does. Like I said, I've got a phenomenal team of just creatives, and we've got a great group of graphic designers, a phenomenal art director, and I think we've really fostered, my cousin and myself, a really collaborative environment, and really want people to just bring ideas to the table, and we just kind of throw stuff out there, and try and settle on the best version of what we finally think this is what we want to do.
That's inspiring alone. I love that. And then what is a piece of information that you would give um a new entrepreneur, or even an entrepreneur that's been doing this for a while? What is a piece of advice that you would give them?
And I know I'm butchering it, but it's even though it's, because we do sell to kind of a mass customer base, but I think it's held true for us in terms of kind of the philosophy that don't try and make something that a million people are like gonna just like. Make something that like 10 people are just gonna fucking love. more of that mentality. And that's kind of what we've been always trying to do, is just nail in on something that people are just going to really, really, really like, as opposed to just, I think I could sell a million of these. We never say that. That's just never part of our our objective. It's always just like, this is fucking awesome, this is going to sell, and then either it does or it doesn't. But that's kind of always the objective. It's more of that we love it, we've done our homework, this is friggin' great, as opposed to setting out with that objective of, just, I'm going to sell a gazillion of these.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, just kind of coupled with, you got to really just like what you do.
Thank you.
You can't have the motivation of I want to make money, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to work hard, I only want to work on weekends, or I work. You got to just love what you do, and if you believe in it, then don't stop. Just figure out a way to make it happen, because rejection is the normal. It's not like a rare thing. I think a lot of this today's generation is not used to rejection.
You-
Um, um, but rejection is a great thing. Like, I have 3 children, and oftentimes that's the messaging is it's as important, and it holds true with product, to learn what doesn't work or what you don't like, as to what you do like. And that's probably, I mean, probably the biggest message. And even, again, holding true to product and life, is learning what doesn't work is every bit as important as learning what does work.
That's why I say failure is the best instructor. It's not a failure,
Oh,
it's a lesson. Like I swear
if
by,
you let it be.
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, but I think really truly, like I just said this the other day, it's like all, like I had stores at Fred Siegel. I went down in fucking flames. Like I had probably the only bankruptcy that was part of that whole organization. But I will say this, that was hands down the best, not in the moment, but the best experience I could have ever had as a 27-year-old. Like having a store, 3 stores at Fred Siegel, dealing with the people we had, like even my ballooned ego that I had at that age, because, I was dealing with celebrities and I had a store at Fred Siegel, like the ego was so gross. But
Yeah.
that lesson, oh my God, I'm so grateful for that. Like that was hands down the best lesson
Yeah.
ever, because I'm a very different person now. And it's like, I'm very grateful for the
100%.
gift of humility. Like, God,
Yeah. And that's a good word, and that's also something I try to adhere to, and personally, and we that hopefully carries forward to our business. Swagger is great. Healthy swagger is great. Ego is awful.
yeah.
And I think we've learned that too. Taking stuff personal, or allowing your ego to make decisions, um, is not good. So, but a healthy swagger is needed. I mean, to succeed in anything, you got to have a little bit of healthy swagger, how you carry yourself, confident in your decisions, whatever it is. But healthy swagger is great. Ego is that's funky.
Yeah, my ego is out of control. And that's where I'm going to leave this. Thank you, Myles, so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Like so grateful to be able to talk to you and tell everybody all our stores about, because like I said, it is majority of retailers that listen to this, and a lot of them may not know the line. And before we go, tell everyone where you're represented and where they can find you.
Okay, yeah. DM merchandising. We are 247dm.com. Obviously, you can reach out through the website, but we are represented where I met Michelle, in the Las Vegas Mart by Sales Producers.
Who is the
Um,
sponsor of this episode?
Phenomenal rep group, fantastic people, and great showroom. And those of you who've been in there, you can vouch for that. Michelle does some phenomenal work in there as well. And we also show in the Dallas Mart with diverse marketing, and we are in the Atlanta Mart with Southeast Marketplace, and then also many other rep groups throughout the country, which are on our website. And can reach out to me directly. Happy to answer any questions, that you want to try and sell our product. But it's yeah, no, it's great to talk to you, Michelle. It's like I said, I met you a couple shows ago, and kind of our conversation really it was obvious to me that we were like-minded and that what we were doing was with passion. And you're obviously super talented at what you do. Is I'm
Oh,
hoping to
thanks.
work with you down the road and on our showrooms. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad we were able to make this happen.
Thank you so much.